Hello everyone, welcome to Chief Chat. We all want to wish you a very Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and a wonderful New Year. We are here with our Chief of Police, Chief Lee Gavin, and our Fire Chief, Dave Brogan, and we are going to talk about the holidays, the winter time, the wonderful snow that comes with winter, and our 8 inches that we just had, which I'm not a big fan of, but we have 8 inches of snow out there, and I know with snow comes some safety issues and some parking issues and no tolerance issues, from what I understand. So, Chief, talk to us about how we're going to manage this.
We'll start with
season.
our snow emergencies. Usually when we get a heavy snowfall, the mayor's office notifies me and they put a snow emergency into effect. What that means is all the vehicles...
And then we hear the sirens going off,
hear
right?
the sirens. So we initiate the sirens. In the summer, you hear the sirens. That's for tornado warnings, tornado watches. If it's cold and snowy and you hear the siren, that means there's a winter storm warning. So we activate the sirens, and then naturally with that comes the snow emergency, which is no parking on city streets. We have a lot of residents that continue to park on the streets. We decided this year, you know, we just had that present storm come by, and we did a lot of warnings to people, but usually after the first storm, no more warnings. You know, heavy snow, you cannot park in the street. So we have a zero tolerance approach. If any vehicles are parked in the street, they will receive a violation. You know, some neighbors will say, hey, you wrote this car, but then you left and you didn't write the other cars. We have to remember our primary function is respond to the calls of the citizens. So if we're out writing a ticket and a more serious run comes in where they need our assistance, then we have to leave and respond to that run. Sometimes the officers may come back and reissue violations to the ones that are still in the street, or they'll continue with their patrol. But when we do come out and a neighbor calls us or the officers find them, they will be issuing violations. So we ask our residents, do not park in the street.
You know,
so our plows can come by, and there are no exceptions.
No exceptions. Well, let me give you a scenario. What about if it was an elderly couple and they couldn't shovel the snow and couldn't get their car up? Is there someone they can call for help, or do they just get a ticket?
Not really. I would hope when the officer was out in front of their house, they would see the officer outside and you know, maybe address them at that time, and maybe the officer would have some concern and care for them. And I mean, the officer might even move the car, try to get it in the driveway. You know, our issue are the same residents over and over that leave the cars in the street. The plows go around those cars, and then they deposit that big pile of snow in your driveway after you've shoveled and
Right.
blew your driveway. So, you know, we get a lot of neighbors that get upset. So if we just all work together and we get the cars off the street, then we're better off. You know, naturally, if you have too many cars for the driveway, you know, try to get them in the garage, try to double stack them in the driveway. You know what, we've even had some people in the past, like on Ford Road at Target, they'll go park 2 or 3 cars and drive the rest of the family members home, just so the cars are in the street and they're in a parking lot.
There.
So
Absolutely.
if you know there's going to be snow and you've got extended amount of cars, go park them in an area parking lot, and there's not going to be a problem. Our plows come through within a day or two. You go and you return the cars back to the street. So that's our big concern.
That's an excellent solution. Yeah. Absolutely. I know that there's a church not too far from our home too, so you know that makes sense. I mean, that gives me an idea, because you think about, you know, when you have company over and it's a snowstorm or what have you, but there's always a way. There's always a way.
Solution. If you have a little party going on, you run a little shuttle service back from a parking lot to your house. So
that makes a lot of sense.
If there's a will, there's a way.
Absolutely, absolutely. And with this season coming up, a lot of people are putting up Christmas trees, and they're beautiful, but especially if you get a real tree, and even sometimes artificial trees. So what advice do you have to our residents to make sure to stay safe?
Especially with the real trees. And I think they're really, I mean, everyone's heard the message before, but there's a lot of, to actually see a tree burn, they burn so fast. A dried out tree can burn incredibly fast, and it creates a tremendous amount of heat. So most of the time when you have a fire, it starts small and they still can grow quickly, but if you have a garbage can or something like that, it still takes some time before you have a large enough fire that's putting out that much smoke and heat where the smoke detectors can alert you, and especially if you're sleeping. A Christmas tree fire, it goes up so fast and it creates a tremendous amount of heat and smoke and catches other things on fire around it. So there's a higher percentage of fatalities with a Christmas tree fire because if they happen at nighttime, because it's
so
kindling that goes up so quickly in your house, and obviously you need to have enough time to get out of the house, and with a fire that grows that fast, it just limits that window of surviving. And so the key is water it every single day, check it every single day, and water. That's it. They have if you just look online, look up YouTube videos of Christmas trees burning, and a lot of times they'll have them side by side, a tree that's been watered every day versus one that's not, and they light them both on fire, and you see it just will burn much slower. You may still have a fire, but it will burn so much slower if you just continue to put water in it. And
so there's nothing you add to the water. It's just regular water then.
Just the big thing is make sure it has water in it. So sometimes and before you put it in, you want to cut the end again so it has a fresh bottom, so then it can kind of absorb the water up into the tree and kind of keep things somewhat hydrated. Otherwise, when it gets real dry and brittle, it will just burn so quickly.
It's almost like flowers because you have to sort of cut the
right.
tip ends of
Yes,
the flowers.
just like
so
flowers,
basically,
yep.
just maybe.
That's right. And check your lights. Make sure there's no nicks in the wires, anything like that. And extension cords, you don't want to have old ratty extension cord underneath the rug, especially, old cords underneath rugs, and you have a bunch of them plugged in. If it has any kind of nick or anything that might create heat underneath the rug, now the heat can't dissipate, and so the heat will start to collect, and then a fire is more likely to occur, and now you're right underneath a bunch of kindling, and it will go up like crazy. So.
Yeah, and something that's supposed to be beautiful and bring joy can bring a lot of pain and heartache. And candles. This is a season for candles too, and I light them out in my home too. And my fear is I forget it lit and leave the house.
Yeah. That's an enormous cause of fires this time of year is candles. A lot of times we've had Advent wreath where you have the 4 different candles on them, and they've forgotten left those burning, and sometimes they're made out of a natural wreath, and that could burn as well.
Sure.
And any kind of candle, you don't want to leave it unattended. You want to make sure that if it's one of the big jar types, if it gets down so low, put it on a coaster, put it on something, because the bottom of those can get really hot. And keep the wicks trimmed down. If the wicks get too far exposed, then the flame can get really large, and just.
I just don't see the common sense in having a lit flame on something that's real or natural. So that doesn't make any sense.
Exactly.
So maybe avoid doing that
altogether. They really have really cool looking. They've always had the ones with like a light bulb in it, the electric candles or whatever you want to call them. They have them now that look so real. You can from a distance, even as you get closer, you can't tell if it's real or if it's a fake candle. They have.
And I have one of those. Those are really nice.
Yeah,
they're
really nice.
They flicker like a real candle.
Yeah,
so
they do. So
without the danger.
Exactly.
Also, before we get back to Chief Lee, the fire prevention program, we had talked about it very briefly before, and talking about all these new hazards, especially during the holidays.
Right.
How is that going, and how is that progressing?
Yeah, that was a grant that we were awarded from the federal government, and so we're just now, everything had to go out to bid, and there's a whole process that you have to go through to satisfy the federal standards with the bidding process and everything else, but we're making our way through all of those requirements. And we just got some shipments of fire extinguishers, and I think the smoke detectors and carbon monoxide detectors will be arriving shortly. And we've already set up a couple of targeted neighborhoods, and we've had a few fires recently. And then we're going to hit, like, whenever there's a fire, that's one of the targeted areas we're going to go to. And again, this is a program where we're choosing the areas where we're going out to. This is totally separate. You can't call and request to be a part of this. We're going to go out to very specific areas and hit those areas, and we're going to try to hit about 1,000 homes in the span of the year.
So those are homes that you're actually identifying rather than... Okay.
Yeah, and there was a selection process that we submitted to the federal government when we said we wanted this grant, and that's what they approved. And so even if someone came to us and wanted us to do, and we can't just go install a smoke detector or whatever it is that you need in your home. But it's going to be a pretty thorough installation. We're going to go and meet with the homeowners. We're going to show them a little educational video. We're going to make sure that smoke detectors are installed according to NFPA, which is every bedroom, every floor. Install a carbon monoxide detector and install a fire extinguisher. And so we're going to try to make that home as fire safe as we possibly can, and then move on to the next house. And so it's just a really aggressive program. There's not very many of them out there that take it to this level, and it's just something that we're trying to identify areas that have fires, portions of the population that have fires. A lot of time lower income and seniors, there tend to be more fires and more fatal fires with those residences. And we're going to try to get into those homes and limit fires, and if there is a fire, be sure that they can get out safely.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's so important. I mean, fire safety is important through the entire year, but for some reason, this time of year, it's so relevant to make sure people are identify their routes on how to get out of the house, and
a pre-fire plan is so important. Yep. And a meeting place is really important too. That's all part of the package that you need to have to make yourself as safe from fire as you can. No one plans on having a fire. I say this all the time. But we go to fires. I guarantee you, by the time we have our next chief chat, I'll be talking to several people who've had house fires, and none of them are going to say, oh yeah, I was expecting to have a fire on December 29th this year. And no one expected. Just like a car accident. Everyone wears a seatbelt, but you're not expecting to be into a car accident. So you need to take these steps.
You need to have a plan
to make yourself safe. Yep.
Absolutely. We were talking about zero tolerance, and we got our new garbage cans, the big green ones.
Right, blue ones.
Blue ones, you're right.
Blue ones.
Right. Colorblind, blue, green, but they're very nice. But also on garbage day, because today was garbage day, and I actually saw a lot of cars parked on the street. So we're enforcing that as well, aren't we?
Yeah, according to our new ordinance, with the delivery of these trash cans, the ordinance states no parking on the public street on trash days, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Some people say, hey, my trash was picked up by 10. Can I now park in the street? And our Department of Public Works is asking us to make sure we stay off the street from 7 to 7. They want to combine clean the streets in warm weather and plow in colder weather. So the plows might come not by, or the street cleaners might not come by until the afternoon. So that's why they're asking the cars to stay off the street. So when you take your trash off outside, you have to remember no parking. It should be an easy decision to know. You take the trash cans out, no cars. And we'll get a lot of calls. People complaining, hey, my neighbor's parking here or there. So, our officers go out, and starting the first week in January, by then it's been a 3-month trial basis for our residents with the new trash cans. So we'll start a zero tolerance effective January 3rd. So beginning right after New Year's, when the cars are parked on the street on the trash days, they will be ticketed. So we just, ask our residents, be courteous for our trash haulers and our DPW workers so that they can, come by and do their job without the cars interfering.
Absolutely. Sounds fair enough. Given, again, the holidays, there's a lot more issues that we have to be aware of, not only fire, but when we're out there shopping, just physical, personal safety, and also I was watching on the news the other day, they were talking about people just walking in the shopping malls, outside in the parking lots, and it was a scary report. I mean, you just don't think about those things sometimes, in your packages, and also the packages that get delivered to the house. I mean, people are just walking by and grabbing packages and excuse me, walking away. So how do we? And then they have these big containers that you can buy to have the FedEx guy put in. I mean, but it sounds like, it's quite a process. So how do we keep ourselves
we have
safe?
to be aware of our surroundings. So when we're running to the bank, going into the local hardware store, you're at a mall, whatever, just look around. Be aware of your surroundings. There's when you get stuff stolen, there's usually a person waiting around. Usually teenagers, they're just eyeing you up and waiting for that opportunity. They'll walk by you. If your purse, with the lady not being secured on your shoulder, they're going to grab the purse, take off running. You know what? Us older people can't chase these 18, 19-year-old kids. They're long gone. So just be aware of your surroundings. And then in regards to our homes, we go shopping at night. Make sure we leave some lights on in the house. Leave your lights on outside. a good idea is to turn a radio on in your house. I've said that before. You turn a radio on this time of year, put some Christmas music or something. If anyone comes around your house, starts looking around, you know, they hear the music, they think somebody is home there, and there's less chance of being broken into. Then you discuss the packages being delivered. And this time of year, we see a big increase. A lot of people order online, and packages are delivered by UPS, FedEx. They leave them on the porch. People are not home to sign for it. They'll just leave them on the porch. And we get a lot of thefts. We even have people in the past, not yet this year, they follow the UPS or the FedEx truck around, and they'll see them make that delivery, and they'll come back later. They'll write down that address, and they'll come back a couple hours later. Most likely the homeowner is working. They'll walk up to the porch and take that package. A lot of people, like we said, buy stuff online, a lot of shoes, a lot of clothing, that type of stuff. So it's a quick trip up to the porch and grab the box, and they're out of there. So be aware of our surroundings, and if you're going to get a delivery like that, maybe a neighbor could take it. If you're not home, have a neighbor take delivery for you, just so it don't sit there.
They had this contraption where it's a round contraption, and it hooks up to your phone, and the FedEx guy puts the packages on that contraption, and then if somebody tries to remove it, you get an alarm on your. But okay, fine, you get the alarm, but then what do you do?
You're 20 miles away.
It's like, okay, they took it, so it just gets you disappointed a little bit earlier than you would have been.
There you go.
We were talking earlier, then I thought this was very, very important. We were talking about a certain car and a family that had gone into the car and warmed it up. And there was an issue with carbon monoxide. And this was this was shocking to me because you don't really think of this. So,
right.
So tell us
it's
about
something
that.
you might not think of. I believe this was in Chicago, and there was a lot of snow, and a family came out. It was a young a really young child and the mother and the father, and the mother and the child got in the car, and they started to warm it up while he was scraping the car. But the snow was so high, it covered the exhaust, it covered the whole bottom of the car, and so he had it was some time for him to get the car all scraped off, and he had to shovel a little bit of it out. And then when he entered the car, they had both passed away. They both died from the carbon monoxide because the car couldn't, the exhaust wasn't going anywhere. And carbon monoxide is extremely, extremely dangerous. Sure. Most of the time we're talking about it's in a house, and so it has some chance to dissipate. That's why it's not as, we do hear these tragic stories of things going wrong, but it has to, seriously go wrong in order to build up that
much
kind of where but it can kill you quickly. If you have a really, really high level, it can kill you very quickly. It disorients you. You'll get a headache, but you don't understand what's happening to you. It can make you confused, and that's why people don't just get up and realize, oh, I'm not right, and they get up and they walk outside. A lot of times they just get a little bit of a headache and they start to get confused. Then they can't make the right decisions to get themselves outside. So that's why it's so important to have a carbon monoxide detector in your home. To take those, if you're starting a car, just a car is going to create carbon monoxide. Don't warm your car up inside your garage. If you want to warm up your car, if it's in your garage, you don't really need to warm it up anyways. Just start it and don't leave anything running inside your garage.
Or open the car,
the door. Even with the garage door open, I wouldn't recommend having your car running inside of it. Another thing is generators. People, if someone loses power this time of year, they'll put the generator inside an attached garage. People have put generators in basements, and those will create a lot of carbon monoxide in a short time, and the house isn't
Those should
open
be
enough.
outside.
Absolutely, absolutely, they should be outside. But every year, someone dies from either setting it up in the basement or setting it up in an attached garage. And they run it, and the carbon monoxide comes into the house, and that's enough to. It seems like such an innocent decision, and that's enough to cost you your life, and it could be the life of your whole family. So
you've seen those stories where there's been power outages, and people go and they put a generator inside their house to maybe get a space heater or something going. Yeah, and that carbon monoxide. Every year we see and hear those stories,
That's
so
scary.
you got to be careful.
Yeah.
But with this snowstorm and that story, it really makes you think, because people who do have their cars in their driveways and the snow is that high, it could very easily,
The exhaust
especially the
system
lower
is
cars.
not exposed, and all that builds up carbon monoxide in the car.
Wow, that's something to definitely be aware of. On a more happier note, the Goodfellows, and I know the police and fire departments participate quite a bit, and there was a little bit of rivalry to see who earned more money, but overall it was $37,000 for
Yep.
the Goodfellows, and everybody was out there on the streets.
Yeah.
How'd the fire department fare this year?
We had a really good turnout from the guys. There was a lot of guys there out working. Unfortunately, came in second place to the police department for I think 35 years in a row, possibly. But
yeah, that's probably the last 20 years.
yeah, just something like that. Maybe 25, but yeah, it was a really good showing from the guys. They came out and they did. So they collect. They're out on the street corner, and we're at Van Born and Telegraph. Next year, you can go to Van Born and Telegraph as opposed to Ford Road and Telegraph, and yeah. So we raised about $4,500, and it was the second best in the city. So there's probably 25 groups, maybe 25
Yep.
corners out collecting, and so that
Wow,
that
so
was we have a lot of
huge
volunteers
percentage.
that make up the entire Goodfellows organization for the city of Dearborn Heights. It's just a lot of the people in the community, first of all, that are giving us the money, but so many volunteers and so many people that show up to make this work. And we see the same faces every year, and it's just a great charity to get involved with. I know that Chief Gavin has been involved with it very very heavily for a number of years. I mean, just as part of the fire department, I've worked with it. I've worked with the Goodfellows for as long as I've been here, as far as volunteering on the corners and the different things that the fire department does. But the past 3 years as chief, I've got to have a more
hands-on
active role, and it's something I've really enjoyed and something I've learned from Chief Gavin too.
Aw,
So
that's
Yep.
wonderful. So
No, we work together on it, and like we said earlier, the police usually win largest amount collected.
how nonchalant.
Not to say that we don't have our police cars out there with the lights on, and people get a little intimidated.
Yeah.
But no, and honestly,
Right, you're
when
not gonna say no.
Right, when I was out there a few weeks ago, you get so many people that pull up and they roll their window down and say, I'm donating, I'm contributing. It could be a $1 bill, a $5, a $20, whatever they say. But I just have such fond memories of the Goodfellows when I was little, when I was young. My mom and dad, they delivered packages. So Goodfellows goes back, it's tradition, and I'm sure it started in Detroit years ago, but there were so many people that have been helped out by the Goodfellows. And when they're young, they remember
They
that.
remember, sure.
I think last Saturday we gave out the gifts, and what they're doing this year is they have gift certificates for food, a $75 gift certificate at a local store, and then each child gets a $75 gift certificate from Myers. So, you know what?
That's wonderful.
2-3 kids, it works out,
Sure.
and mom and dad can take the kid shopping or purchase the gifts from Santa, and it works out pretty good. So this year we had just over 100 recipients. So it shows there are a lot of people in need, and when we were there passing them out, you see the people come in, and they're really deserving of it. Distressed, and some have health issues, financial issues, whatever. But like the saying goes with Goodfellows, no child without a Christmas. So that's our goal, to make sure every kid in Dearborn Heights that we're aware of gets a Christmas.
Absolutely. And you know what, when you think about our local fire departments and police departments, you think of them going out and putting out fires and putting criminals away. But it's those wonderful things that you do on your and volunteer to do to help the community that needs to be identified and really celebrated. Did you want to say something?
I was going to say, in the month of November, we had Movember, which is Men's Health Month in November. So we allowed all our police officers to grow their beards and mustache. They had to contribute money, and the female employees were able to wear jeans for the month. We raised $2,100. We went out and bought hats and gloves for the youths. So we made a donation a few weeks ago to some of the local elementary schools. We went up to Hillcrest, down in District 7 at Thorne, and then Westwood schools. So we pass out hats and gloves, and it showed that from the unions, a little donation, and we're going to keep them in the police cars so that when the officers see in the morning maybe some kids going to school or snowball fight and they don't have their hats and gloves, we'll be passing them out.
Oh, that's
so
wonderful.
it was a nice program. We've been doing it a couple years now, and it lets the officers grow their facial hair. You know, according to our grooming code, we can't have mustaches, beards, and certain
and
things.
it gets them out there
Yeah.
too on a one-on-one, on a
Gets 'em
positive
out.
note with the
You know,
community and with
and
the kids. And
You'll
it's
see an
wonderful.
officer come up with a big burly beard. And, it's a conversation piece.
Sure.
So it worked out good. So we had good participation on behalf of the police officers. So it worked out good.
Also, and on another positive note, I know Wayne County Commissioner Diane Webb does the Make a Senior Smile event, and you were both part of that as well.
Yeah, that's right.
What'd
Yeah.
you do?
Good.
Yeah, so
Go ahead.
we've done this for the past. Is this our third year maybe that when we became aware of it, we started volunteering. And so the chief and I would get together, and this year it was the chief, myself,
Jack McIntyre from Ordnance.
and then Chrissy Laszlo from the mayor's office. And so we got to go out to a bunch of different homes, and so seniors could sign up through Diane Webb, and then we would go and rake their leaves. And so we raked up all their leaves, and we got actually pretty fast at it at the end. And so we were making our way through. I don't remember how many bags we picked up. It was quite a few though. And then we'd bag up, rake them all up, bag them all up, and then go talk with the seniors for a little while and move on.
And they were very appreciative.
Absolutely,
Some of these,
I can
one house we
imagine.
did, gentleman was in his early 80s, and it just felt bad that we were out there doing it, but he couldn't do it himself. And leaves,
Sure.
we cleaned up his yard, looked good, picked some flowers, so we did a good job, and he was very happy.
I can imagine. Well, that's a wonderful, wonderful service and a volunteer service at that as well. Is there any comments you'd like to make or suggestions or advice you want to give our residents before we sign off?
No, it's the holidays, so we just ask everyone to, like we discussed earlier, be aware of your surroundings. If you see anyone in the neighborhoods that do not belong there, call us, let us check them out. And I just wish everyone happy holidays and healthy and happy 2017. Time's flying.
Wow, I
Yeah,
know.
and I think we should all just watch out for one another. Just take time to be extra nice to each other. Sometimes the holidays can be very stressful for people, and sometimes there's buildup that can lead to disappointment, and there's a lot of mental health issues that can happen, and people that are alone, and people that kind of miss people that have moved on and passed or whatever in Christmases or holiday seasons in the past. And so this is a time to really be watching out for your neighbors, watching out if you have anyone who lives alone, if you have just be calling everyone, be nice to everyone, and this should be a time for people to be happy and celebrating one another more so than worrying about all of the other craziness that can happen around the holidays. And it's just a good time to keep your neighbors in mind and your family and wish them all well.
Wonderful advice. I don't think I can add anything more to that. So we wish you a very, very Merry Christmas, a happy holiday, and a wonderful New Year for 2017. Be careful out there. Have a wonderful, wonderful, safe holiday season.